Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We have a snowstorm that will be going on, an ice storm, a crippling ice storm in some portions, as well as a potential northeast system that could be pretty significant. So I'll go over especially this first storm, and I may make a second video about that separate system in the northeast later on today, we'll see. But if you guys enjoy weather-related content, forecasting type stuff, check out the channel, watch the videos, and if you do continue enjoying, then consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video is fabulous. So thank you so much if you decide to do so. All right, first off, National Weather Service. Weather Ready Nation map. This is where all the warnings and watches are. I do apologize about my squeak chair. It is trying to say it's basically telling you guys to be careful for the snow and ice. That's what it's telling you. But let's look at this. So notice this purple right here. That is an ice storm warning. We have a lot of pinks. That is a winter storm warning. So usually those are bad enough. But then here we have ice storm warnings, and these purples further down across Texas are, I think, hard freeze warnings right there. So also very cold air simultaneously. So the worst area in terms of damage and destruction potential is definitely this Oklahoma corridor into Texas. I mean, it's just, ice is the worst type of precipitation. You know, say what you want. If it snows 3 inches of snow, it will definitely ruin your day or make your day, depending on who you are. It'll go away, and it usually doesn't cause major outages. It melts or it's fluffy. It's not that bad. Rain, 3 inches, I would say it's possibly worse because that's a ton of rain. Like, you know, an inch of ice, 3 inches of ice, forget about that. That's just complete destruction. An inch of ice is already dangerous, and you could see mainly light amounts of precip tonight for the Oklahoma City area. Some light sleet, freezing rain. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's some snowflakes mixing in, but really things start getting cranked up. Sleet, freezing rain tomorrow starts coming down, and it starts coming down hard. The unfortunate thing with this system is that it won't be consistently precipitating from the clouds. It will come in bursts, and those bursts will be producing very, very heavy rates. And you can see this is Tuesday. Additional ice accumulation just west of Oklahoma City. We could be looking at almost 3/4 of an inch of ice, up to an inch in some locations based on the models, and heavy, widespread outages. And power could be lost for several days. The road conditions obviously treacherous, and the temperatures are going to be on the chilly side, though definitely heading towards warmer conditions in the longer range. But I mean, just look at that thing. Let's take a look at Amarillo forecasting office. So today, snowfall generally less than 1 inch or 1 to 2 inches, so nothing significant. Tonight, more significant, 2 to 3, 1 to 2. This is already quite significant for October, especially since these locations have already gotten a bit of a wintry weather and snow. And then let's take a look at Tuesday through Wednesday. Look at this. We get many locations seeing over half a foot and diminishing as you go towards the east, but still very high amounts. New Mexico, look at this. I mean, let's take a look at some of these snowfall amounts, shall we? Look at that. A lot of locations. Los Alamos, Mora seeing 16, 14 inches. And then we have even the larger cities seeing some snow. Most of New Mexico right here is under a threat of snow. Albuquerque possibly seeing at around 7 inches of snow. These are the highest amounts, right? So this is what's expected. This is what would happen if it's a very weak storm, and there's a 9 in 10 chance that this won't happen, or a 90% chance that more snow will fall. And then there's a 10% chance that this will happen. You could see this much snow, which honestly, there's not that much of a difference between these two. And in fact, expected snowfall for Los Alamos is higher than in the higher amount of probability. So I don't know if that's really too accurate. But this storm has already shown lots of potential. And of course, snow into Kansas as well. It snowed yesterday. It still will snow more into today. Hopefully not that much, right? But if you look at the winter weather advisory, it's still giving out to 2 to 5 inches of snow. So that's not loading. But let's just go to the weather models and take this one by one and show you why the storm is so unique. And of course, the phone decides to call. Alright, so sorry about that little interruption, but let's go to a high resolution weather model, the HER model. And let's take a glance at this. So let's start it off at hour 0. Right now we have a band of rather heavy precipitation across really central Missouri. I do apologize about the chair. Central Illinois also getting a bit of rain, ice. That is actually mostly falling as sleet, a bit of freezing rain, but sleet is definitely better since it doesn't stick to those power lines. It's it just bounces off. It's one of those, you know what sleet is, and if you don't, it's just search it up. It's these little balls of ice that is kind of a combination of a snowflake and a water droplet, but it's a frozen ball, and they harden as they fall, but definitely not as bad. And then, look, snow to and portions of northern Missouri falling at heavy rates. This thing continues to bring rain. Where the rain is falling, it will fall heavily, so flooding is a potential. Notice ice continues to spew up into Oklahoma, Kansas. And look at that. We have quite a bit of snow across New Mexico ongoing, but the brunt of it will still be occurring as it cranks up. You'll see in just a bit. And this is into Canada right here. You can see Quebec seeing some snow, but really most of the major other cities not seeing any additional snowfall here, though it moves out into southeastern Canada, so definitely something to watch for. A bit of rain in the northeast. Notice this starts getting filled up, more and more snow across Mexico. Then we start seeing moisture getting wringed out, and look at that. The whole panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma seeing snow. Some freezing rain right there, actually quite a bit, a little bit of sleet, mainly dominated by freezing rain. More snow possibly pushing into portions of Illinois and Indiana tomorrow in the morning. Today I saw around 2 to 3 hours of snowfall. It didn't accumulate because it was falling at a pretty relatively light snowfall rate, and it was just too warm, but it was just nice to see the snowflakes falling, almost like a pleasant sight, if you will. And we could see another resurgence of that into tomorrow. And notice these precip rates are just off the charts, and I want to emphasize that. Lots of freezing rain. This pink, it falls as rain, but it freezes on contact because of how darn cold the temperatures are. So it could be 27, 28, and still be freezing rain, not snow. It's everything to do with the atmosphere and how it all lays out the different layers. And notice Oklahoma at this point, like this is early tomorrow in the morning. Really, the mess, if you will, begins late tonight. And into early Tuesday morning, we see snow initiating at around, this is what, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock across the panhandle. And just look at all the ice moving into Oklahoma. That is definitely bad news. Heavy acerations of ice. That's, I think, the official term the weather uses. And definitely concerning, especially with all that snow. And as soon as it seems to die down, we get a resurgence right here, which could possibly bring the majority of the snow for the panhandle there. So this thing's a multi-day event, and this thing does not want to give up. And if we were to look at the NAM 3KM, which is a North American high-resolution model, it does a relatively good job. You could see there's the ice into tomorrow morning. We see tons of rain going over the same area. We start seeing snow redevelop, and it does so across the panhandle. Very heavy snowfall rates, lots of thunderstorms, and the snow continues. And the models are becoming now more and more consistent, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, about this giant system moving into the northeast. This thing will have a enormous precipitation shield. It drags up all the moisture possible from the Gulf, and along with it, a hurricane, which this model shows pretty strong. I think it will be a hurricane, but not awfully too strong of a hurricane, but a hurricane's a hurricane. But notice, this could all move into the northeast, and most models are actually indicating of that. But again, separate video for that, and they all are starting to show some snow. But let's take a look at these snowfall amounts, shall we? North American model total snowfall. This one does include sleet, so a lot of this is freezing rain, not snow. Still impressive to say the least. Texas Panhandle, definitely seeing that as, I would say, almost half a foot, if not more, amounts of snow. New Mexico, as you saw, 14, 15 additional inches is on its way. The NAM 3KM, you could see lots of snow here. Again, this will fall as freezing rain, so that is not an actual snow amount. And some of the higher resolution models, these really right here, these WRFs, they do a poor job of showing the events unfolding, but it's a good sign when they all are pretty consistent on this. And this is the RGEM model, which is relatively goes out pretty far out. And I just want to show you what it shows with that second system across the northeast. And if you want snow across the northeast, you should be excited because this is your good potential, depending on where you live. But this moves, you can see, erupts with ice, more precipitation is forming. And then I want to wait for this to load, and I'll show you what this model does. This thing aligns the hurricane Hurricane Zeta with this storm that's already ongoing almost perfectly, and so much. Look at that precip shield. That is a ton of rain. Moves into the northeast, and it slowly starts mixing it with snow. And the thing is, we could be looking at a very interesting situation here where rain falling cools the atmosphere enough to where it basically turns into snow. No really atmospheric conditions are helping it. Well, they have to be right, because it's not going to always just start raining enough and it turns into snow. It already have to be marginal temperatures, right? But it's going to start as a very cold rain and then transition over to snow, and it could start blossoming in terms of the snowfall amounts. And what helps the system is also that there's a cold blast approaching as this system moves north. So this is a classic example of what may be on its way. Let's take a look at the European. I want to take a look at the European ice amounts, because this is one of the few models that does show the ice. As far as I'm concerned, it does. Oh, sorry, I meant to look at the GFS. That was the model. I got a bit confused. This model shows the ice, and I want to show that some models are showing quite a bit more than what the National Weather Service is forecasting. Total accumulated freezing rain, you could see it's mainly across the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, but some of these amounts get into the scary range. 1.5 inches, 2/10, 4/10. That is a ton of ice. That is crippling ice. And actually, I just want to show you an image of what half an inch of ice looks like. And you can see this is a National Weather Service image, I think, from 2014, 2013 across North Carolina, where half an inch of ice fell. This is what half an inch could do. You could see the trees are bending so heavily, and if there was another half inch, they would be all broken. And I'm sure there were weaker trees that did break. So this is definitely something that is not fun. Way worse. You can see that flag is stiff. That thing would not move. This is half an inch, and as you saw in that forecast, some of these locations could be looking well into an inch and a half of ice. Not snow, just ice. And in terms of total accumulated snowfall, you can see that it does include quite a bit of snow across New Mexico. Not as much across the panhandle of Texas. If you recall, the National Weather Service does forecast quite a bit. It does include some snow across the northeast, though the GFS is pretty conservative on that. The European snowfall amounts, you can see, shows more snow across, that's snow depth. I want to go to total accumulated snow. You can see it shows more snow across the panhandle and across the northeast. It shows some pretty good amounts, and it has just recently started doing so. If you look at the last model run, it didn't almost include anything significant at all. It did have, 7-6 inches, but it's been increasing it slowly, and if you go just a few model runs back, there's not a single sign of it. So definitely a lot of snow is still on the way. This powerful system is probably the most dangerous part is upcoming with the ice. So definitely not good news. Let's just quickly look at some of the total snowfall accumulations out of the fun of it. Look at that. Some locations across northern Illinois, 7/10, 3/10. We didn't get any accumulations here, but I'm sure many locations did get more of a dusting because it was colder across the north. All right, enough with the Illinois bias. Let's move on into Colorado and where the heavy snow is falling. Already did. You can see a lot of these amounts. Very, very impressive. Some 23-inch amounts. Kansas, Wichita got 1.2 inches. That's a relatively good amount for such an early storm. 5-6 inches across these areas. Goodland, Kansas, and it will start getting worse and worse across these areas. You can see 1.5. And so that is definitely, and you can see already glazes of ice are beginning to show up. So definitely not good news, not fun. Weather's on its way, and I can't emphasize this enough. People, when I talk about these storms, they want timing. I just don't want to do that. I gave you a brief rundown, the morning, but for exact timing and official info, go to your National Weather Service. Please do. They do a wonderful job. They are way better at this than anyone could be as an amateur. So please. The National Weather Service is the go-to, and you could use. They have so many resources, cool resources like this, where you could just check out the snowfall amounts. So, if anyone wants the link to this, I'll give it to you in a link in the description. Just leave a comment. I'll give it to you, and you can see 8.9 across the UP. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode, possibly today in the evening. All right, see ya.